everything always is going better than we think, because these minds, they're disaster prone, right? They're it's Chicken Little all the time, right? The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Everything's good. No, the sky is falling, I know. And we look at a little situation, which seems like a big situation at the moment because I've been there. Rent's coming up, the money's not there. There's nothing that seems much larger than that. And we worry and fluster and work and beg and borrow and do whatever we have to do. And then the next thing we know, it's the 25th and we start thinking about the next month's rent, because somehow we made it. We're still in that place a month later. And we still haven't had to starve ourselves, and everything. In my colorful life, if I want to be kind about it, and I will choose to be, I've been in very serious situations. I've been out in the desert with no water, no food, no transportation. I mean, just really looking at a very dark moment. And I've been homeless in cities. I've been homeless in mountains and everything else. And all of these situations feel that feel quite dire at that moment. I can remember that, panic wants to set in, except for that you can't really afford it. So you just kind of don't let the panic hit in somehow. But these things have a tendency to resolve themselves. I don't want to say that everything resolves itself. Everything does resolve itself, but it's not necessarily in our favor. It doesn't, everything worked out, but probably not the way I would have liked, because I wasn't crowned king the moment after I discovered I was homeless, which is what I would have much preferred. But it's this way with every imagined problem that you have, because your problems are imagined. The situations exist, but the problem aspect of it has to be imagined. That's the reason that Nisargadatta used to talk about that this teaching is really freedom from imagination. And my teaching isn't precisely like his, but it bears a strong resemblance. We wouldn't have much to argue about if we had lunch, which would be tough since he's been dead for a long time. But I'd be willing to show up if he was. And so the world's problems, if we think about, I can go back to like 60 years ago, and it was that would have somewhere around in there, maybe a little longer than that or whatever. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis, for instance. And at that time, Russia was our enemy. And we just knew that we were fixing to get nuked and it was going to be a terrible thing and the world was going to come to an end and all that. And it was discussed around the dinner table, that it was that serious, that immediate. And here we are. 60 years later, Russia's still our enemy. They still haven't nuked us, but we're still waiting for it. And the heads are going, oh, just about, we're right on the edge of it now. And maybe so, but history points to the fact that probably not. But probably not is not really a mode that we're very comfortable with. We like to have a flat out answer, which is the worst is right around the bend, and the worst is coming. And if your mind is an alarmist, you can't learn to control the mind. It's going to think what it thinks, but you can manage how much attention. And don't worry about who it is. I understand that I'm gonna say things here today that are not perfectly would not pass the non-dual police's editing board, but it's okay, because things don't have to be logical to be true. And as a matter of fact, if things are perfectly logical, they are not true. That's just the way of it, because it's not this way or that way. It's always this way and that way at the very least. So we can decide how seriously we're going to take our thoughts. And am I going to take every single one of them and respond to it like it's the emergency that it's declaring itself to be, right? And God, I'm not ready for work, or I'm not ready for school, or I'm not ready for this date, I'm not ready, but whatever. Just relax best you can, because everything is always better than we think it is.